So today we're going to be talking about a Canadian client. She's a mom who is coming to the US primarily to visit her kids who are minors and in high school. And she bought a house, a place where she could stay during her temporary visits. Now, she's never overstayed her visa and she's always left promptly, but because she told CBP when she entered that she's coming here to see her kids, the CBP officer suspected that she was in violation of her visitor status and said, "You're actually making the US your home. You have a home here. You're staying here months at a time, living here with your kids instead of visiting." And so they issued a 5-year ban. She was expedited removed, which means she was rejected at the border. And now she had a 5-year ban in which she cannot visit the US at all or apply for any visas. So she was devastated and she was also very confused. She found us and we kind of walked her through the process. And, unfortunately, this is something that happens more often than you would think. Even if you don't violate the terms of your visa, even if you never overstay, CBP can interpret frequent visits to the US as a violation because they might question, why are you visiting so frequently? Why are you staying for long periods of time? Where's your permanent home? So it's really important to keep documents to show your home ties to your home country, right? So that could be property or job, family back at home. So for our client, instead of appealing, we decided, why don't we apply for the 212? The 212 waiver is saying that this is a recent occurrence. It's never happened before. So we wanted to talk about all the positive factors in favor of the client. And we also wanted to show that she had non-immigrant intent, that for the next visit when she comes to the US, we had very clear ties to Canada this time, so that it was clear that she had no intent to violate her status in the US or immigrate to the US. And in order to show this, we submitted property back in Canada. We also showed that her daughter, who had moved back to Canada with her, was now attending high school. So there's no reason for her to make long trips and leave her, 16-year-old daughter all by herself. So we had enrollment papers. We also showed that she had cars and she had personal property back in Canada. We also showed proof that she sold her business back in the US, so she had no longer any ties in the US. If anything, she had to come to the US to wrap things up because she was abruptly told to leave and was not able to come visit. And for the urgency, we also showed that her son was going to be graduating soon from college and she wanted to attend his graduation. We submitted everything to CBP. So if you're Canadian, you have the option of applying through CBP directly, which is called eSafe, instead of applying through USCIS. And in the past, it used to be quicker. Now I think the average processing time is around 9 to 12 months. And in our case, it took about 12 months to get a response. And to our surprise, we got an approved. So she was thrilled and so happy to now be able to visit her family in the US, to take care of her property and things that she was not able to because she was she couldn't come back for so long. And now she can really consider if she wants to make the US her home or not. But at least now we have this 212 that allows her to travel and to visit freely without having to worry about this 5-year ban. As a Canadian, she doesn't need a visa stamp, right? So she can come in as a B1 or B2 visitor. Every time she enters, she has to show her intent, the purpose of her travel, to show that she will not violate her status. Along with this 212 waiver, she still needs to prove to CBP every single time she enters that she's coming for that specific purpose. So you can use the 212 for any future visits. So it wasn't for that specific reason, right? For example, we asked if she can use it to visit her son for his graduation. But since that graduation is over, she could still use that 212 waiver every single time she enters the US for whatever purpose. So the key elements for a 212 waiver, you have to show that there's close family ties in the US who are citizens or lawful permanent residents. In our case, she had a US citizen son who was living in the US, so we were able to show that there were close family ties. You have to show evidence of hardship. So we were able to show that there would be extreme emotional hardship to the US relative by being separated from his mother, and we got affidavits to show that hardship. We ought to show rehabilitation and character. And so in her situation, I mean, she's a law-abiding citizen. She's been employed. Now she was working as a stay-at-home mom, taking care of her children. So we were able to get affidavits and proof of her good character. we had to show that time passed. In her situation, not a lot of time has passed, but also in light of her violation, it was relatively minor. So even though not a lot of time had passed, we were able to show that she had never attempted to enter the US since, and she was respecting the law. And along with that, you want to show that, this person has respect for the law, which we were able to do. So evidence of good moral character, complies with law and order, never had an arrest in Canada, in China, in any other country, especially in the US. And then we also had to show the need for services. If this person has a business in the US, you can use it that way. For our situation, we argued that she was a mom who needed to come and see her children. I think the 212 is a really good option if you have been expedited removed or if you are seeking consent to re-enter into the US. And don't forget that even if you do have an approved 212, you still do need to prove your entry every single time you enter the US. So that's something that you have to be aware of. You will most likely be going to secondary inspection, but as long as you can show and maintain those home ties, right? I think that's the key part, especially if you're applying for a visa that has non-immigrant intent. You want to make sure that you're not going to be repeating those violations again and be very respectful at the border, or whether you're at admissions with CBP at the border or at the airport, then you should be given and granted this waiver. So good luck to everyone who's applying. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help you.